Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Wolverine number 43, cover dated early August 1991. And this is a really eye-catching cover by Marc Silvestri. And note here the signature in the corner, it's just Silvestri inking himself. No Dan Green involved in this one. And to my eye, this is entirely inked with a brush. And it's really fantastic to see Silvestri penciling and inking himself in this particular era. It's pretty rare to see it. And like I said, it's an amazing cover image featuring this monstrous looking character raising a blade above a wounded Wolverine and the rain pouring down at what appears to be night. And the colors on this cover, those reds and blues contrasting each other, the cool colors of the rain versus the warm, hot red colors of the figures in the middle of the composition. Really nicely done. And one of Silvestri's great strengths is drapery, and you can see it here on with the in full display with the ragged drapery of this knife wielding character's shirt here, as well as the drapery of Wolverine's ruined shirt and trousers as well. It's really well done. Also the puddles formed here by the droplets of rain pouring down. Nicely done. So let's open this one up to the splash page. This picks up immediately from the end of the previous issue. And this is kind of part three, sort of part three of a three-part storyline. And the title of the story is Under the Skin, and the creative team here, script Larry Hama, breakdowns Marc Silvestri, because the title is on a bi-weekly schedule at this point. So Silvestri, and by the way, it should be noted that Silvestri has done every issue of the title from issue 31 all the way to now 43. That's 13 issues in a row. Very different from his schedule when he was the regular penciler on Uncanny X-Men, and there seemed to be a fill-in every 5-6 issues by the likes of Rick Leonardi. Here he's doing everything, including on this bi-weekly schedule. So it's pretty impressive, but it does require the device or strategy of providing breakdowns to Dan Green in order to get the pages done. And there's only 19 pages of story in this particular issue. So finishes by Dan Green, lettering by Pat Brousseau, and Steve Buccellato coming on here for the coloring. So Wolverine's saying to Nick Fury that he wants out. He wants to be put down right there in the middle of Midtown Manhattan, and Fury says, "This ain't no air taxi, Wolverine. This is a SHIELD rescue helicopter, and we can't set it down just anywhere you please in Midtown Manhattan." Wolverine responds, "I didn't ask you to land the helicopter, Nicholas." He continues and says, "Just hover it over that rooftop and I'll jump the rest of the way." "Don't let him go, Colonel Fury," says Jubilee. "He needs to rest up and chill out." Forge concurs, but Logan says, "Thanks, but no thanks, Forge. Gotta go listen to myself think." So he wants to clear his head. He wants to think about some of the things he's learned in the previous couple of issues, most particularly Sabretooth's claim that he is his father, and then the SHIELD medical personnel who explained to Wolverine that that Sabretooth isn't his father because the blood type doesn't match. And then Nicholas Fury admitting that he knows something about what Sabretooth is claiming, but can't say any more than that because it's an official state secret. Cable here much less concerned for Wolverine's well-being. He says to Nick Fury, "The man said he wants out. Take this crate down and let him go. It's starting to smell like a wet sheepdog in here." Logan says, "You always had a lot of class, Cable. Somebody got a shirt or a jacket I can borrow." So one of the SHIELD guys gives him his whites. So he's the one of the medical personnel on board the helicopter. And Wolverine takes it, and he also takes Nicholas Fury's stogie. He says, "And I'll take this here stogie since the good colonel has been so kind as to get it started real good. You still won't tell me how come Sabretooth thinks he's my dad, huh?" So Nicholas says no, and Logan says yeah. So's a lot of stuff. classified that gets bandied about kind of loosely. That's why I got to take me a little run through the jungle, because the jungle is the place where the only secret a critter holds is where he's going to crawl off to when he's fixing to die. So Sabretooth went missing, having dropped into the East River at the end of the previous issue, and maybe Logan is out to find him here. In any case, he leaps out of the helicopter and onto a rooftop there. Jungle, we just dropped him off at Times Square, says one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. guys. There's jungle and there's jungle, says Jubilee. So Logan has dropped into the urban jungle. I like the shadow that's cast there onto the billboard behind Logan. That's pretty cool. Nice little attention to detail. Let's continue with the story. This is a nice little scene as well, where he's making his way through Midtown Manhattan and he passes this streetwalker or prostitute, drops down from one of the levels of the buildings beside her and asks her to hold her light steady in order to light up his stogie again. How'd you do that? She asks him. Just fall out of the sky. You an alien or something? Nope, he says. Just a mutant. Nobody's just anything, she responds. Ha, you're beautiful, darling. You restore my faith. And then Larry Hama just won't leave it at that. She asks him for $20. You should have quit while you were ahead, he says. It's a really nice little scene. Doesn't have to be in there at all, but it adds atmosphere to the whole Midtown Manhattan location. And remember, this is 1991, so it's before the Disneyfication of Midtown Manhattan with the mayorship of Rudy Giuliani. So let's turn the page and see that we have a little scene shift deep below the city in the storm drains. So Mask at this point in time is the leader of the Morlocks, and he is inspecting the ruins of Gate 23 and putting together that there was an explosion there. Pounds of the stuff must have been the mass of a medium-sized dead dog or a small child, and of course he doesn't know anything about LCD. So one of his flunkies there is picking up on the word child, pink, he sees a scrap of a pink dress, pink taffeta, and then something is moving through the tunnels. So who or what could this be? Could it be Sabretooth? Turn the page. No, it turns out to be Albert. So we saw Albert at the end of the previous issue. He caught LCD's head out in the East River and he's looking for a power source to power her up. And first of all, he takes on Mask, and in particular his two heavy flunkies here. Anything you can break, I can fix, he says to them. Can't make me dead because I'm not really alive. So that's a kind of a point that's been made over and over about Albert, the android doppelganger of Wolverine. But here he emerges from the sewage tunnel and pops those claws right underneath Mask's chin. That's nicely done, that profile there on Mask with his big nose. I need power, he says to Mask. Electrical, a junction box. Could also use electronics lab, machine shop, hydraulic tubing, access to a mainframe. I need to patch in an external power source to LCD or a battery will crash. So Mask here says, anything you want, big fella. And do you want 190 or 210 power? Both, says LCD. So she's still got some power there. You disgusting little creature, she says to Mask. You better get cracking. Albert promised to build me a new body. And Albert confirms that that is indeed what he's going to do. It's a nice upshot there on Mask's ugly face. And just the claws just popping into his bulging neck there as well. And then we pick up with Logan in the urban jungle. He's made his way specifically into Central Park. And he's there howling at the moon. And in his first person narration, he thinks to himself, something else is up and about in the early morning. Something out there howling back at me. Something in torment. And great series of close-ups there on Logan's eye. Really nicely done. in the artwork, and then he leaps off the top of that little cliff, small little cliff in Central Park. Nice anchor image there. Little colouring error from Buccellato. That is Logan's shoulder there to the left of him, and Buccellato misses that. That's an indication that this must have been coloured at some speed, and that makes sense in terms of that fortnightly schedule that everybody's sticking to get 2 issues of this out per month. So the clock strikes 5 in the morning, and Logan makes his way to the Central Park Zoo. The zoo, quiet. These critters just don't have that edge to them anymore. Too much soft living. That's a really nice choice from Silvestri to put our point of view in the cage with the big cats, looking at Wolverine stalking his way through the zoo. And then back to his first person narration. No anxiety, bed tracking down and killing dinner. Blood. Not enough. Then he sniffs the air. I like the way that Silvestri shows his nose up against his face as the nostrils flare, and he's sniffing away. I smell blood, fresh spilled. Now the critters are up and jumping. They know that a predator is loose among them. And look at him crawling his way around the environs of the zoo as this little seal in the foreground makes some kind of noise of distress, knowing that a predator is out there. But is it Wolverine or something else? Blood scent. Part of the blood scent is coming from here. Another scent too. Not fear. So who or what is this? Well, it is Gulo Luscus Mustelide, the Wolverine. No, this guy doesn't fear all too much in the world. He's a hunter. He's a fighter. He's the best at what he does. So it's a real life Wolverine animal. And funny to see Wolverine face to face with his animal namesake, and he addresses it as it snarls at him from out of the bars of the cage. You're still some scrapper, ain't you, little guy? Got you locked up in a cage. They give you dead meat with no warm blood pumping through it. Snot-nosed little brats throw peanuts at you all day, and you still haven't given up, even though you're bleeding and bleeding. So he's wondering, well, what could have caused that? What's attacked the animal in its cage? So then he turns around, and here's the rest of that blood scent. You got a problem, boy. So who's this in the foreground? Well, it's our character from the front cover. This character looks like he's escaped from John Boorman's 1972 film Deliverance. A real redneck geek. And his name has to be, of course, Linus. And he talks about himself in the third person. Linus ain't no boy. Linus a full-grown man. Got my size, you see. Ain't no runt like you. And the Wolverine is growling at Linus from the cage. You're no man, says Wolverine. Only a sick, twisted little boy would get his jollies torturing defenseless animals. Smatter, pulling the wings off flies, got too tame. And he's got his number, because it turns out that the guy bought gerbils from the pet store and strangled them. And he puts that blade right through Wolverine's hand. Now this page, you can begin to see here on these couple of pages as we're coming towards the end of the issue that Silvestri must have been under time pressure. Dan Green too. So there isn't so much detail in the art, but it reads really well. The storytelling is superb on these pages. So Wolverine pops his claws with that blade going right through his hand. The Wolverine there is still snarling out of the cage. And meanwhile, Linus pulls a handgun on Wolverine. And he says to him, you got some mouth on your runt. Well, oh, Linus, fixing to give you another one. A big new nasty red mouth. Dead smack in the middle of your chest. So really evocative dialogue here that Hama's putting into the mouth of that particular character. And this is a great page. I really like this particular page in the storytelling here, where we've got a split panel of the guy kind of putting pressure on the trigger. The hammer pulls back here. Wolverine launches his blades, his claws towards Linus's gun. The hammer falls, pock, and the gun goes off. Look at the tigers there looking as well. But what's happened here? Who's been shot? Let's turn the page and we'll see that the gun explodes in a backfire. And Wolverine explains he's got the barrel of the gun stuck on one of his claws there. You should never fire a gun if the barrel is blocked with solid adamantium bulb. All them expanding gases got nowhere to go, set back at you. And he says it so matter-of-factly as well, no exclamation points. What I really like here is the foreshortening of Wolverine's fist and arm, and the way that Silvestri and Green have rendered in the musculature there on his foreshortened arm. Really, really well done. So Linus is knocked on the ground, but also the cart that he was wheeling around. Well, look at what we got here. You've been a busy boy tonight, says Wolverine. That's the real zoo cleaner. So he's killed the zoo cleaner, and now Wolverine is getting ready maybe to exercise or render some justice. You really messed up, Linus, he says. Here you are graduating to sticking real live humans. He swings the barrel of the gun off his claw, pulls the blade from out of his hand, and the second guy you stick turns out to have a mutant healing factor and adamantium lace bones. They should have stamped loser on your forehead when you were born. So Linus here gets the picture that he's in big trouble as the tips of Wolverine's claws sparkle in the moonlight. And so the guy here, just look at that close-up on his face. He really does look monstrous. No, Linus sick. Linus can't help himself. Linus ain't responsible. Them head shrinkers up at the program said so. So does that give Wolverine pause that the man is not in his right mind, that he's mentally unwell? Is he going to take that as an excuse for what he's done? Well, Wolverine uses those claws not on Linus but on the lock holding closed the door of the Wolverine's cage, and then Linus knows he's in trouble. Nice borderless panel here. Again, just keeping the panel layouts interesting on the page, interesting and varied. The Wolverine makes its way out of the cage, and Wolverine himself, the man, is watching. And it goes running after Linus into Central Park. That little feller's got a mind of his own, says Wolverine. Better not slow down, Linus. Wolverines ain't nothing if they ain't persistent. So that's an implication really in terms of Wolverine's persistence in determining why does Sabretooth claim to be his father, and what is Nicholas Fury not telling him in terms of what is known at a top secret level regarding the connection between Wolverine and Sabretooth. And I like this panel here where we've got that reverse shot of Wolverine walking under the lamplight in Central Park. And look what Silvestri does in order to make it interesting. Just tilts the angle on the shot there, a little slight Dutch angle. Just keeps things interesting. And again, great command of the drapery, the ragged drapery there. The shirt ripped pretty much off Wolverine's back. And then the scene switches over the East River. So we've got this particular woman, Lady Yuriko Oyama, being taken in a car after her flight into the city. And she's reading the newspaper and she's looking for signs of Wolverine. All the obvious indicators are here, records of his passing. But where's the clue that will lead me to where he's going to be? What would interest him, draw him out? And on the back page here, we see this advertisement for this creature that looks like the Hunter in the night. And there was an advertisement for this earlier in the issue. So it was on the page with the Streetwalker. Let's see it here. Get it up. Yeah. Here we go. So this wasn't just a bit of colour in the background. Coming soon, he's real, he's alive, only at Parvenu Casino in Atlantic City. And yeah, so we've got that information on the newspaper on the back here. What would interest him, draw him out? Asks Yuriko to herself. Driver, I have a destination. Take me to the office of Ronald Parvenu. So intriguing. And remember what I said, this creature is much like the Hunter in the Dark that we saw in Larry Hama and Marc Silvestri's Wolverine number 34. You can find a review of that on the channel. And then I really like the transition here of the newspaper falling over the side of the bridge into the East River, and then who emerges from the water except for Sabretooth. And by chance, by coincidence, he smells on the paper the faintest trace of lotus blossom, eucalyptus, and that acrid stench, oh hate, right pretty smell, hate, keeps me going. Longs as I keep hating, I ain't down for the count, he says, and as long as old Sabretooth can stand on his own 2 feet, that son of mine Logan had better watch out. So Sabretooth is genuine in terms of his belief that Logan is his son, but as I said earlier in the previous issue, it was revealed that they couldn't possibly have that relationship because of their different blood types. So a mystery is building in Hama's run, and the direction is now going towards Wolverine investigating the secrets of his past. Well, what's left in this issue is just there's a couple of things. There's the letters page. The letters are primarily about issue number 40. And then there is this, a Wolverine gallery. So we've got 1-page illustration of Wolverine there in his brown and orange costume, and it's torn and ragged and ripped up. And it strikes me that it might have been a sketch idea for the cover of this issue, and then instead of going with this image, Silvestri must have decided with some editorial permission to go with this one, and then I think it was just a genius stroke that he inked it himself. Great cover. Let me know your thoughts on this particular issue in the comments section to the video. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like the video on YouTube. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.